They say history is written by the victors, but sometimes the greatest stories are not erased by defeat. They are buried beneath noise, misunderstanding, and distance. What if one of the most influential civilizations humanity has ever known was never truly lost, only unseen? Beyond headlines, beyond modern assumptions, lies a land where time does not disappear. It layers. This is Iran, or as the ancient world once knew it, Persia. Here, mountains rise like memory itself. Deserts preserve silence better than ink, and cities breathe with the accumulated weight of thousands of years. This is not a story of politics. It is not a story of conflict. It is a story of continuity. Long before borders were drawn and narratives simplified, Persia stood at the center of the known world, not only as an empire of land, but as an empire of ideas, governance, architecture, poetry, respect for nature, tolerance for difference. Ideas that still ripple through modern civilization, often without credit. Yet today, this land is rarely seen for what it truly is. Its forests remain unknown. Its wildlife is unexpected. Its people are unheard. To understand Iran is to move slowly, to listen instead of assume, to look beyond surfaces shaped by others. This journey does not promise spectacle alone. It promises perspective. Across mountains older than memory, cities shaped by geometry, and faith deserts mastered by wind and wisdom, and cultures carried forward by resilience, we will uncover an Iran few have ever been shown. Not as a symbol, not as a headline, but as a living, breathing chapter of human heritage. This is the Iran most people will never see. To understand Iran today, we begin where its pulse is strongest, Tehran. Nestled against the southern slopes of the Alborz Mountains, Tehran is a city of contrasts, sharp, immediate, and alive. Snow-capped peaks rise to the north. Arid plains stretch endlessly to the south. Between them stands a metropolis of more than 9 million people, constantly in motion. Tehran did not begin as a grand capital. It was once a quiet village overshadowed by older cities nearby. But in the late 18th century, under the Qajar dynasty, Tehran was chosen as the seat of power. And from that moment forward, it never stopped expanding, absorbing history as it grew. Today, highways cut through centuries of memory. Glass towers rise beside faded palaces. Mosques stand next to contemporary art galleries. Cafes, bookstores, and tech startups fill neighborhoods that once belonged to royal courtiers. Few structures capture Tehran's layered identity like the Azadi Tower. Completed in 1971, its design blends ancient Sasanian arches, Islamic geometry, and modernist curves. It is neither entirely old nor entirely new. It is Iran in stone, looking backward and forward at the same time. Nearby, the Golestan Palace tells a different story. A UNESCO World Heritage Site, its mirrored halls and marble courtyards echo the splendor of Qajar rule. European influences mingle with Persian craftsmanship, revealing a moment when Iran stood confidently at the crossroads of cultures. Further north, the Sadabad and Niavaran palace complexes, once royal residences, now function as museums. Inside them are artifacts, paintings, and personal belongings frozen in time, offering glimpses into the final decades of monarchy. Yet Tehran's true heart is not found in palaces. It lives in the Grand Bazaar. For centuries, this vast labyrinth of corridors has served as the city's commercial and social backbone. Merchants call out from shadowed stalls, gold glints beneath low arches, spices perfume the air. News travels faster here than anywhere else in the city. The bazaar is not a relic, it is alive, and so is Tehran. In neighborhoods like Tajrish and Vanak, fashion boutiques sit beside traditional bakeries. University students debate ideas late into the night. Artists push boundaries quietly. Families gather, adapt, endure. Tehran is often misunderstood because it refuses to fit into a single narrative. It is ancient and modern, restrained and expressive, chaotic and deeply rooted. To walk its streets is to feel the tension and the balance between memory and momentum. Long before Tehran existed, before Europe emerged from antiquity, before Rome ruled the Mediterranean, Persia had already changed the world. More than 2,500 years ago, a leader named Cyrus rose from the rugged highlands of southwestern Iran. History would remember him as Cyrus the Great. In an age defined by conquest, Cyrus built something unprecedented, not just an empire of land, but an empire of governance. At its height, the Persian Empire stretched from the Aegean Sea to the Indus Valley, from Egypt to Central Asia. It was the largest empire the world had ever known, but its true power lay not in size. It lay in values. Cyrus ruled with a principle that shocked the ancient world: tolerance. Conquered peoples were allowed to keep their religions, languages, and customs. Temples were restored. Communities were respected. This philosophy was recorded on a small clay artifact known today as the Cyrus cylinder, often described as one of the earliest declarations of human dignity. Persia did not erase difference, it organized it. To To understand the soul of this empire, we must step into the place where its ideals were carved into stone, Persepolis. Rising from the plains of southern Iran, Persepolis was not a capital of administration. It was a ceremonial city, a stage for diplomacy, ritual, and unity. Built by Darius the Great and expanded by his successors, Persepolis hosted delegations from across the empire during Nowruz, the Persian New Year. Its stone reliefs do not depict violence, they depict cooperation. Representatives from dozens of cultures ascend staircases together bearing gifts. Each figure is carved with care. Each culture is distinct, respected, preserved. Even in ruin, Persepolis radiates elegance and intention. Nearby lies Pasargadae, the resting place of Cyrus himself. His tomb is striking in its simplicity. No towering monument, no golden statue, just stone, open to the sky. Power in Cyrus's vision did not require spectacle. It required responsibility. Farther still, the cliffside necropolis of Nakshi-Rostam bears the tombs of later kings, cut high into the rock face like eternal sentinels. Below them, Sasanian reliefs were added centuries later, merging dynasties into a single canvas of stone. Here time does not erase, it accumulates. Persia was not forgotten because it failed. It was forgotten because history moved on and did not look back until now. Before our eyes, the land begins to change. As we move north from Iran's central plateau, the air thickens, the light softens, the color of the earth deepens. Mountains rise not as dry stone, but wrapped in mist and forest. Between the Alborz Mountains and the Caspian Sea lies a version of Iran few outsiders imagine. Here, the land breathes green. The northern provinces, Gilan, Mazandaran, and parts of Kazvin break every stereotype. Rain falls generously. Rivers weave through valleys. Dense forests stretch toward the horizon, their roots anchored in time itself. These are the Hyrcanian forests, among the oldest continuous temperate forests on Earth. They have survived ice ages, climate shifts, and human history largely intact. Walking beneath their canopy feels less like entering a forest and more like stepping backward in time. Sunlight filters through layers of leaves. Moss carpets fallen trunks. The air hums with unseen life. This ecosystem has endured for millions of years, quietly sheltering species that exist nowhere else. Below the mountains, life follows a gentler rhythm. Rice paddies shimmer under open skies. Tea plantations cascade down hillsides in precise green lines. Citrus orchards burst with color and scent. Agriculture here is not industrial, it is intimate. Villages wake with the sun. Families harvest together. Meals are communal, slow, and deeply tied to the land. Recipes passed down through generations turn simple ingredients into rituals of belonging. Food is not just nourishment, it is memory. In these communities, traditions remain strong, hand-woven textiles, wood-framed houses, seasonal festivals tied to planting and harvest. Change arrives, but it does not erase. And beyond the fields, beyond the villages, something quieter persists. Wildness. Hidden within the forests and mountains of northern Iran lives a world rarely seen, even by those who share the land. A world of patience, of silence, of survival. Among its most elusive inhabitants is the Persian leopard. Larger and more powerful than its African cousin, the Persian leopard moves like a shadow through dense undergrowth. Its rosette-patterned coat blends seamlessly into forest and stone. Its presence is felt long before it is ever seen. This predator hunts at dawn and dusk, preying primarily on deer and wild boar. It avoids humans whenever possible, choosing isolation over confrontation. Fewer than 1,000 Persian leopards are believed to remain in the wild. Each commands an enormous territory spanning rugged mountain ranges and deep forests. Sightings are rare. Most evidence comes from hidden camera traps, brief ghost-like images captured in passing. The leopard does not announce itself, it endures. Sharing these forests is another formidable presence, the Eurasian brown bear. Massive and solitary, these bears roam highland forests and alpine meadows. They are omnivores, feeding on roots, berries, insects, fish, and small mammals. In autumn, they gorge themselves, preparing for long winters spent hibernating in rocky dens carved into the mountain sides. Above them, the skies tell another story. Northern Iran lies along a major migratory corridor. Each year, thousands of birds pass overhead, white storks, herons, flamingos, and cranes, tracing ancient routes between continents. Among them is one of the rarest birds on Earth, the Siberian crane. With snow-white feathers and black-tipped wings, it travels thousands of kilometers between breeding grounds in Siberia and wintering sites further south. Northern Iran remains one of its last remaining safe resting places. Along the Caspian coast, the water itself shelters a fragile survivor. The Caspian seal, small, round-headed, and gentle, is one of the few seal species adapted to freshwater environments. Once abundant, its population has declined sharply due to pollution, overfishing, and shrinking ice cover linked to climate change. These animals do not symbolize wilderness. They are wilderness. And their survival depends on something increasingly rare: balance. Here, nature does not dominate humanity, nor does humanity dominate nature. They coexist cautiously, delicately aware that the margin for error is thin. As the journey moves westward, the land rises again. This time, not in green folds, but in vast ribs of stone. The Zagros Mountains stretch across western Iran like the backbone of the earth itself, ancient, jagged, immense. From the sky, their ridgelines ripple endlessly, casting shadows that shift with the sun. These mountains are not gentle. Cliffs plunge sharply into valleys. Snow clings to peaks even in spring. Winds cut through passes without mercy. And yet life endures. In early morning light, narrow trails appear etched into slopes by centuries of movement. Goat paths, migration routes, human memory made visible. Each spring, alpine meadows bloom briefly fiercely. Wildflowers ignite the landscape in purples, reds, and golds before fading back into stone. For generations, nomadic tribes, such as the Bakhtiari and Qashqai, have followed these rhythms. Their migrations are not wandering. They are precision-timed to seasons, water, and pasture. From above their black tents, dot the highlands like punctuation marks in a long, unfolding sentence. Among them, stories pass orally of mountains that listen, of animals that carry souls, of paths that appear only to those who respect the land. Golden eagles ride thermal currents overhead. Striped hyenas emerge at dusk, neither feared nor hunted, but acknowledged as part of the mountain's voice. Yet even here change presses in. Roads cut across migration paths. Winters grow harsher. Boundaries tighten where once there were none. The Zagros remains not unchanged, but alive, a place where time does not move forward. It circles. South and east, the land softens again. Mountains dissolve into plains. Greens fade into ochres and sand. The air grows drier, the sun sharper. At the edge of Iran's central desert lies Kashan, a city that does not fight its environment. It listens to it. Kashan's historic houses are masterpieces of desert architecture. Thick mud brick walls insulate against heat. Central courtyards create private worlds of shade and water. Wind catchers, towering vents pull cool air downward, circulating it naturally through living spaces. The Tabatabai house stands as one of the finest examples. Delicate stucco work, stained glass windows, and precise geometry create beauty born from necessity. Nearby, the Finn Garden offers another vision of harmony. Enclosed by high walls, water flows through stone channels beneath cypress trees, turning the desert into paradise. Yet even here, history leaves its mark. This tranquil space was once the site of political murder, a reminder that beauty and tragedy often coexist. Beyond, the city villages cling to desert slopes, their red clay houses blending seamlessly into the land. Life here moves slowly, deliberately, unchanged for centuries. In Kashan, the desert does not threaten, it teaches. From the stillness of the desert rises one of the great masterpieces of human design, Isfahan. Once the capital of the Safavid Empire, Isfahan was not built to impress, it was built to endure. Its nickname, Half the World, was not exaggeration. It was ambition realized in stone tile and proportion. At its heart lies Nakshi Jahan Square, one of the largest public squares ever constructed. Vast yet perfectly balanced, it is framed by architectural harmony, mosques, palace, and market aligned with mathematical precision. Here, geometry becomes philosophy. The Imam Mosque draws the eye inward, its tiled patterns guiding attention upward and inward at once. The Sheikh Lotfola Mosque whispers, rather than declares, subtle, intimate, luminous. Nearby, Ali Kapu Palace once overlooked polo matches and royal ceremonies connecting governance with public life. Isfahan's bridges tell another story. Sio Sepol and Kaju bridges are not merely crossings, they are gathering places. At night, voices rise beneath their arches as locals sing their echoes, blending past and present. In Isfahan, beauty is not isolated, it is shared. Further east, the desert tightens its grip, and yet rising from the plateau, Yazd appears not as an illusion, but as proof. This city survives where survival seems impossible. Yazd's skyline is shaped by windcatcher's badges that harness air itself to cool homes naturally. Designed centuries before electricity, they remain among the most effective passive cooling systems ever created. The city is also a spiritual crossroads. Yazd is the heart of Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest religions. Sacred fires burn continuously in temples. Towers of silence stand on surrounding hills, silent witnesses to ancient funerary traditions. Walking Yazd's narrow alleys feels like moving through a living manuscript. Mud brick walls glow amber at sunset. Courtyards hide behind unassuming doors. Yazd does not demand attention, it invites reflection. In southern Iran, the land softens once more. Here lies Shiraz, a city of gardens, verse, and quiet grace. It is the birthplace of Hafez and Sadi poets whose words remain woven into everyday life. Locals recite their verses not as literature, but as guidance. Gardens bloom with intention. Water flows gently. Orange blossoms perfume the air. Light filters through stained glass in the Nasir al-Mulk Mosque, transforming space into color and silence into reverence. Shiraz does not overwhelm, it lingers. In the northeast, mountains rise again. Tabriz once stood at the crossroads of empires along the Silk Road. Its bazaars still pulse with trade languages and memory. Nearby villages carved into stone cling to hillsides, blending architecture with geology. Life here remains simple, resilient, deeply rooted. Iran reveals itself not in moments, but in accumulation. Iran is not a relic, it is a continuum. A land where ancient wisdom meets fragile futures, where biodiversity hangs in balance, where cultures survive through care, not conquest. To see Iran clearly is to recognize something universal. That heritage once lost cannot be replaced. That nature once broken cannot be rushed to heal. That understanding begins with attention. Preserving these stories, these landscapes, these lives is not an act of nostalgia. It is an act of responsibility. Because when we protect the past and the planet together, we protect ourselves. This is not just Iran's story, it is ours.